Zachary, a couple of months ago, you had the opportunity to deliver a talk at the opening session at the ETS conference in Orlando, Florida. In that talk, you shared a story that I'd love for you to share with the audience today.
Sure. So when I think back to what I shared, it was really the story about I was 30 years old. It was first day on a new job, and that was with this publicly traded company that just acquired our manufacturing business. And I really decided first day what I want to do, and as we talked today and this podcast about me loving to be hands-on and interacting with our trades folks. So I want to go on the shop floor. We had a factory that was part of this acquisition, and I want to go spend time on the shop floor, just seeing what they were doing, how it was better or different than what we were doing, because we had to merge our two companies together to be successful. And so I get down the shop floor, and I'm looking at all this welding we're doing. We're building these huge structures, and I noticed pretty quickly like we don't have any weld procedures, and not having weld procedures is a huge problem. Huge problem. And so I go find this executive at this company that I was working for that just acquired our business, and I said, "Hey, yeah, we gotta shut the factory down. Like we can't be shipping out product where we don't have weld procedures." And for folks that don't know, weld procedure is basically like the recipe to bake a cake. Right? You have all these ingredients. You have your weld wire and your gases and your temperature and the speed you're welding. You have to get all of that stuff qualified, so that you're putting down a weld that you can predict its success or failure rate.
Right.
And if you don't have that, you're really just guessing on whether or not you're going to be successful on putting out a product that's going to last a really long time. I told him, I said, "Hey, we've got to shut the factory down until we get this fixed." And he looked at me like I was crazy. And he told me a couple things. He said, one, like, "Who the hell are you?" That's how we met. And I thought, it's good question. It was my first day on the job. And he was this 30-plus year veteran of this business that acquired us. And the second thing he asked me, which I thought was an interesting question, was like, "Why don't you just go back to the corporate office and go back in the AC and stay in your lane?" And I didn't have responsibility to run that facility. That wasn't my responsibility. And I was at a real crossroads moment. I knew what we were doing was wrong and it had to be fixed. We had to address it. And all of a sudden, I'm faced with someone that's resistant to me wanting to make this significant change or fix to our business. I wasn't used to that. As an entrepreneur, it's like, no, I run the company. It needs to be fixed. Let's fix it, right? And we go do it. Right. So I was at this big crossroads moment. I said, I got to figure out what I'm going to do here. And so I really harkened back to a mentor of mine, which happens to be my father, Wes Oliphant, and I call him Pop. I said, what would Pop tell me to do in this scenario? And at the end of the day, he would have said, just do the right thing. I mean, it sounds simple, but sometimes it's not. I mean, you're under pressure, whether it's political, whether it's career pressure. Yeah, there's a lot at stake, and financial pressure, right? Yeah. And probably everyone listening to this podcast has been at that point at some point in their life, right? Whether as a spouse, as a parent, as a leader, as a business owner, where you could take a path of cutting a corner that may be financially beneficial to you. You could take a path to let somebody slide on some mistake they made and not try to fix it. But I said, no, like I'm gonna fight for this and I'm gonna fix it. And I told him, no, we're shutting the factory down. And that's the right thing to do.
What were the ramifications of that?
Yeah, it cost me politically within the organization for probably a couple of years. I mean, I fought for a couple of years. Guys, 30, 35-year veteran of this company, had a lot of credibility within the business, very senior guy. And I'm the new guy. Big public traded company acquired our small business, right? You do what we tell you to do. And I said, no, that's not right. Right is right. And at the end of the day, for me, and this is a mantra for our business at Exo today, is really integrity is everything. Not only the structural integrity side or the integrity of the infrastructure we inspect, but our inspectors' integrity on they've got to make the right call, the hard call. The end of a 12 or 14-hour workday, man, it's easy to mail in, pencil whip a report and say, oh, yeah, I could do it right, but I'm just going to say it was good or it was bad. Yeah. No, like you got to have integrity in every decision you're making every day, and that's tough. It cost our business a bunch of money at the time, and we had to shut a huge factory down until we could get these well procedures in place, which took a couple weeks. I tell you, I didn't make a lot of friends doing that. But ultimately, it set the tone for our business that we're going to do things the right way. And if nothing else, I mean, ultimately it worked out and we did things the right way. But if nothing else, it was a lesson for me as a young leader in a business to say, look, I'm going to do what's right. And I'm going to try and work diligently and work my tail off to do what's right every day. I'm not saying I do and I'm perfect, but I'm going to work really hard and I'm going to put pressure on our team to do the same. And whether it's the new employee that just started yesterday or whether it's someone that's been with us 10 or 15 years, my expectation is they're going to put integrity in every decision they make. And I think if they frame it that way, we're going to make a lot more good decisions than we are bad. And that ultimately we're going to have a really successful business because of it.